All right. Well, hey, it's a pleasure to get to interview you. I can't believe I haven't interviewed you before now. I've been writing for Excess Rock for at least 5 years, and somehow I've just never had the opportunity before now to do that. So, big fan of your work, of course.
Okay, killer.
Yeah, big love-hate fan over the years, man. Good stuff, and I'm glad to see that you're releasing a new album.
Yep, it comes out February 2022.
I've heard 2 singles off of it so far, which I believe is all that's been released, but it's really fantastic. Sounds great. Reminds me a lot of previous love-hate efforts, which is right,
a lot of people
I would like.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that. That's I guess that's what I was shooting for.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it would be weird probably to take a detour, right? And go in a complete
what into reggae? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So who's your, tell me about the lineup on this album. I'm assuming it's the cast of usual characters that you've been working with over a little bit, but.
Yeah, Dave Moreno, Darren Householder. I have a UK band that I use when I go to tour over there, and I got those guys to contribute to a few tracks as well.
Nice. So kind of doing some snippet stuff, I guess. I'm assuming you record with a computer and files back and forth especially with everything going on. So
yeah, it was done on FaceTime, instead of face to face. So yeah, it was a little weird at first, but we got it done.
So tell me a little bit about this album. I'm assuming, is it already finished and you're just waiting to release it, or is it actually still in the process?
No. It's done. It's been done. I have to wait for the golden robot gears of time to turn until it's my time for scheduled release.
Gotcha. So tell me a little bit about this album. Obviously, like you said, you were kind of shooting for the same kind of retro sound that you've had, which again makes perfect sense, I'm sure, for all the fans. But is there anything different or anything unique about this album?
Yeah, not really. Not unique. I'm not reinventing the wheel. It's called the record's called Hell California, and it comes out in February of next year on Golden Robot, and it's just your straight up hard rock, in the tradition of the Love Hate, band that I started 100 years ago.
Yeah, I remember way back in the day, you guys were in Bam magazine, of course, out on the Bay, and you guys would be featured in there a lot of times, and so with some unique looks early on.
Yeah, we were struggling to. We were just kids. We were struggling to find our identity amongst all the faceless wannabe Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses bands that inhabited the Sunset Strip. So we tried to, get a little bit, we tried to be a little special.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's, and I always thought Love Hate was great. I thought you guys did have kind of there's some AC/DC type chord progressions and things in there that I can kind of pick up on when I listen to it that maybe sounds, in that same vein, but I always thought you guys had a unique sound. Your vocals are unique as well, but it just, and I love, as the progression went on, you guys did toy a little with the sound and try a few different things, and I've never been disappointed in a Love Hate album, I'll tell you that. So
yeah.
It was always good.
Yeah, well, we were good. We were definitely, we were good, and we had our time, and we got a lot of good music, and it was a great time.
Yeah, I was one of those people, I really liked Let's Rumble when it came out, and I remember a lot of people going, well, wow, this is a little bit different. And I'm like, man, this is fucking spectacular, you know, and the lyrics, a little bit of kind of almost psych rock thrown in there, and you guys just sort of threw it all in a blender and went at it. And I loved it.
It was a weird time. I mean, it was basically bands from Hollywood or Los Angeles really were not in vogue during that time. It was sort of a Seattle thing going on, and so we were just trying to survive, you know what I mean? And we carried on for a few more years, and you know, getting smaller, kind of, and people ended up moving on at a certain point, and then it was just me.
Yeah. Well, and you have a solo career besides, but you're definitely like one of the journeymen of heavy metal. I mean, you're a busy guy. I mean, not many people can say they've, you know, been the lead singer for as many named bands as you've performed with. You know, Ratt, LA Guns, Quiet Riot. I mean, it's, you know, Love Hate, of course. I mean, that's a pretty amazing track record, to say the least. So you always seem to be in demand.
Well, it is a little weird, isn't it? It's just I'm the go-to guy when a national band needs someone that they can count on to learn a bunch of songs and go on the road with no rehearsal and play in front of 5,000 people and not, you know, fuck it up. So you know, there's a couple of guys like us out there, a couple of, you know, anchor guys like that. And, yeah, I'm one of them.
I mean, not too many. I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of somebody who has been in it, like I said, as in many bands, you know, that are known, that have a name, you know, not just bouncing from one place to the other, but literally being in, you know, quality name bands that have been in the charts. I mean, you're one of the few to have adopted that many bands and kept your career alive because of it. I think it's good. I mean, I think it kept your, you know, it kept you kind of front and center after the love-hate thing kind of, you know, died down for a while.
Well, the rest of the guys just moved on to regular jobs and wives and mortgages and, you know, what would be considered normal life. I didn't want to stop being a musician. I didn't want to stop doing what you know, I mean, so I just carried on and then opportunities presented themselves. So I took them.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, not too many guys, I mean, you're going to be, you know, a guy named Jizzy working at, maybe at Kinko's. I don't know, maybe.
I think a guy named Jizzy could work at Kinko's.
It actually sounds like it fits now that I say it.
I could be the manager of Kinko's.
When we started the interview, I almost asked you, you know, should I refer to you, since it was the first time I've interviewed you, as Jizzy or, you know, Mr. Jizz? What do you prefer?
You know, my nickname has been is obviously now in 2021, you know, on social media, I get a little rational shit for it. But then again, I try to explain to people that when I was a kid growing up in the Hollywood, you know, scene, I had to compete with guys like CeCe DeVille and Blackie Lawless and Nikki Sixx, and, you know, all those names were larger than life on a marquee, and my regular normal name just didn't cut it. So, you know, I changed it, and little did I know, you know, 40 years later, I'd still have to, you know, hang it around my neck like an albatross, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're definitely known, you know, by that name, and of course you've got some books, and I know you're doing some. Are you still doing signings on your books?
Yeah. No, if people go to my JizzyPearl.net website, I'm selling books, and I'm working on a fourth book. I'm almost done with it, and so I'm going to have next year. I'm going to have a new record and a brand new book, so that's great.
Yeah, I think you have kind of a limited edition thing going with them, where, you know, you're autographing and signing your books, and I think that's pretty cool, because I mean, you've been doing that for a while as well, kind of journaling your life on the road, and, you know, this and that. I mean, it's definitely a mixed bag when it comes to what you've written. So,
well, you know, I mean, it's just another way of expressing myself, and it ended up being, something that I've sort of carried on, into 2021. And like I said, it's my fourth book is gathering steam, and, it'll be out probably in January next year.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about Quiet Riot, if we could. Obviously, you're back with the band, and Rudy Sarzo apparently is going to be performing with the band at least after, I think, 2022 sometime, right?
Yeah, maybe sooner. Maybe sooner. He's on board, and we're all hanging out, and it's just a timing thing for him to leave his current contractual obligations with the Guess Who, sure, and then transition in with us.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys. Obviously, he's not a singer, but I would probably put Rudy in that same boat of. When you look at the list of bands he's played with, it's phenomenal.
Well, he's an A-lister. You know what I mean? I'm not an A-lister. He's played in. He was in Blizzard of Oz, for Christ's sakes. That was. Yeah, he's got it. Yeah, he's got it. And obviously he was in Quiet Riot during the huge heyday when they were huge, and he's excited to come back to the band that he started, and it's all good.
So speaking of Quiet Riot, you put out you performed only on one album, which was Quiet Riot 10, which I thought was really cool, and I think it's almost impossible for anybody to find it these days. It just sort of got yanked off of digital markets and things like that. Maybe it's back, I'm not sure. But so in this current version of Quiet Riot, do you guys have any? Do you have any?
New material
to record albums?
Yeah,
or is it simply live.
Of course.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of songs written for a new record already.
Nice. Okay. Well, for some reason, when I saw the first press release when you came back, and it was kind of being announced you guys were going to go back out, it almost seemed like it was just as a live entity, and that was it. So I'm glad to hear you guys are going to keep.
Well, things have taken shape. Things, shit has come to light, dude.
Sure.
It's just Rudy coming back and us deciding that we're going to make a record. It's all sort of a organic, the way it's happening. You know what I mean? It wasn't our intention initially. We didn't know that Frankie was going to die. We didn't know that. You know what I mean? We were sort of left hanging for a little bit, and then we figured out how we were going to move on, from that.
Yeah, a lot of the guys in this lineup have been in there longer than what some people think of as the core members were. So you guys have been doing it for a while together. So
yeah, so it's all good.
Well, cool. Well, I'm very glad to hear that because, again, like I said, I love your vocal style. Very cool. I really liked the Quiet Riot 10 album. I thought it was unique unto itself. And, I know that was probably a hard thing because that was really the only, I guess, album at that time. It was the first one without Kevin. So whether or not people were going to, judge it harshly or,
well, everybody judges everything harshly.
Nowadays, yes.
Yeah, it's just the way it is. I try not to take it personally. There's nothing you can do about people talking shit.
Yeah. So are you an owner in the band? Do you guys have stakes in this band, or how does it work?
No, we're not. I'm not. I'm just a guy that's singing the songs and helping out.
Gotcha. But you intend to stay, I guess, at this point with Quiet Riot.
Yeah, unless the asteroid hits.
Well, you never know with society nowadays what we're going to get. So it's been a unique situation for sure over the last few years. But yeah, you've obviously been staying busy. Your last solo album was really cool. I really like that. So does Quiet Riot still have contractual obligation for recordings with Frontiers, or are you guys going to do something?
I don't think, I'm not 100% involved in the business. As far as that goes, but I don't think so. I think that we're going to make a record, and I don't know, specifically what label it's going to be placed on, so I'm not really sure.
Is there any opportunity? I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there. I think I know the answer already, but is there any other opportunity for other members, former members of Quiet Riot, to return to the lineup, or are you guys pretty much set where you are?
I don't think, if you're speaking about Carlos, I really don't think he's interested. I mean, I can't speak for him, but I just don't think that it's not an easy gig. You know what I mean? Sure. When I say that, I mean, for me being a singer, it's not an easy gig, but I'm talking about getting on a plane and traveling, and it's pretty exhausting. And I just, I mean, as far as I know, I just don't think he's interested in jumping in the gypsy caravan again.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'm sure, as you mentioned earlier, when you go on to kind of have a normal life and get domesticated, if you will, that gets harder, I'm sure, to adopt, back to that being gone constantly. And
well, it's everyone's getting older, and it's just, it's harder to none of us are in our 20s anymore, so it's just the travel is tough. Doesn't matter who you are.
So do you intend to tour for the Love Hate album that you've got coming out? Or
I have a UK tour in February that's planned, and then I plan on touring the rest of the year, with Quiet Riot, with Rudy, and I think we'll be doing a lot of touring next year.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people have gotten kind of re-excited about, the whole Quiet Riot gig, too, with you guys going back out. And Rudy coming back sort of brings back memories of the old days a little bit. So that's pretty cool. And you do an admirable job, I think. I mean, Kevin had a unique voice. You don't try to imitate him, which I like, that you're not just trying to sound just like Kevin. But your voice fits well, with a lot of those songs. So.
Yeah, I never try to go karaoke when I'm singing in any. I mean, if I'm singing,
you've always been the same dude. You're kind of like, if you watch a Clint Eastwood movie, he plays Clint Eastwood in every movie he's in, and I sort of felt like you've kind of been the same way, with the band.
Sort of.
You're still yourself. I feel like it is.
Well, you know what? It's a good thing to be yourself. It's a good thing to have that identity. When I hear Ozzy sing, it sounds like Ozzy. Doesn't sound like Robert Plant or Ronnie Dio. Ronnie Dio, you know exactly who you're hearing. So it's good to have your own sense of self.
Yeah, and it makes you, of course, recognizable as well. I mean, because your vocal style is kind of unique, and I obviously, whenever I hear it, I'm like, hey, when you're on a compilation album or anything, I almost always can pick you out of a lineup, if you will, when I hear your vocals. So yeah, I think it's a good thing as well, and I'm just glad to see everything's going well. I know musicians, this has been a tough time for the last few years, well, especially last year with the COVID thing and all the rules with not being able to tour, because, I mean, frankly, that's where you guys mostly make a lot of money these days, right?
It's pretty much the only way these days. I mean, there are no more, huge royalty checks. That's gone.
Yeah, I mean, and albums aren't really profitable per se, from what I hear from most of you guys that I talk to, but then again, it's still an outlet as an artist.
They're a vehicle for touring, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's kind of hard to just tour off just the past. I guess it can be done, but so tell me a little bit about the classic lineup of Love Hate. Are any of those guys that you're in contact with any of the?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I speak to Joey every now and then, the drummer, but the other two guys I don't really talk to.
Yeah.
You know, they don't. You know, those guys retired a long time ago, and they're not really interested in music, and they're not even interested in music, the music scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're completely civilized people now.
Well, I mean, the music scene was always a little rough, but I mean, I have to say, I think nowadays it's harder than it used to be. I mean, used to people had more of an opportunity, I think, the artists did, to strike these big deals with record companies and do that sort of thing. And like you said earlier, that kind of stuff is gone. You know, so
all that stuff is gone. Record deals are gone. Record sales are gone.
So I feel like half the time, 50% of the time, what I get is people, you know, like you, that are true artists that like what they do and they want to continue performing and continue, you know, upping their game and doing what they do. And then the other 50% is these wannabes that record on a computer who can't play live even and are trying to, you know, insert themselves into a scene somewhere.
Well, it's just that there is no scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
That's the thing. It's like they're trying to jump on a boat that isn't there, you know, and so they just you know, drown.
It sailed around 1992 or so, right?
Well, it's you know, I mean, bands like us, and I mean the Warrants and the Ratts and the Quiet Riots and the Dawkins, we have a built-in audience, and those people will come see us, and those people, you know, are somewhat interested in buying the record, and they're, you know, they're into, they like what they like. But new bands, I don't know how they make it. I don't know how they pay the bills or survive. I really don't, because it's just tough out there.
Yeah, and well, a lot of them don't make it. I mean, that is part of the problem. I mean, I see a lot of bands that just cycle, you know, through, and I get the latest crop, you know, from PR people that, you know, hey, check these out, they're hot, and 2 months later they're gone, you know. they don't have an album deal, they don't have anything, you know.
Well, because people can't live. You know what I mean? They're forced to tour endlessly in a van, and they don't make any money. And they end up doing it for years, and then they're burnt out, and they're sort of bitter about the whole experience because they never got the Wonka golden ticket. You know what I mean? They never got the payoff. You know, my band never sold millions of records, but I got the Wonka golden ticket.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a lot of bands out there like that. You know, certainly that, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I feel bad because it's just a different scene. I mean, now people network on social media and stuff like that, and it's just, you're, like you say, you know what I mean? Every 3 weeks, you know, the next big thing comes up.
Well, what I find a little disheartening too, and I think over in Europe in particular, some of the other countries, it's maybe a little different, but it seems like in the U.S. at least, there's guys like me who are hardcore collectors, and of course I know a bunch of guys like me are the same way. You buy every album by their favorite band. They're still these hardcore fans that they've always been. But then there's a certain amount of people who are fans of these bands, you know, that have been around for years, who wouldn't buy a new album by them to save your life. Which is, I find strange, but it's just like, you know, they want to go see them live, see the hits, and that's it, and they're done. You know, it's like it's already happened for them, and I think that's I don't know how you reach people who are fans who just won't kind of continue to follow it.
You know what you do? It seems, you know what you do? You go on YouTube and you do something fucking stupid, and you get 6 million hits. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like you take a gun and blow your own foot off, and then you're all of a sudden you're a viral sensation.
Maybe you were ahead of your time. You know, you did the Hollywood
Yeah, you know what though?
If that was now.
I know, but I don't know. If I'd have done the Hollywood sign thing now, I think I would have been a viral sensation for about a day, and then the next day it would be the guy that put 8 tennis balls in his mouth or something. You know, just a million cable channels.
Kind of a flash in the pan, isn't it? It's strange.
Well, I don't know. You know, I like I said, I mean, I'm not really subjective about it. I'm not a young guy anymore. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm comfortable in my own skin playing classic rock or Jurassic rock, if you want to call it, you know, because that's what I like and that's what I'm good at. And so I don't have a finger on the pulse of what's happening now because what do I have in common with, 20-year-old kids?
Sure. So what do you think you'll do? I mean, I'm assuming you won't do this forever, music, I mean, at some point, but I would think you might still be involved in the music industry somehow. What do you have in mind for later on in your life if you decide to kind of stop traveling around so much? And
I don't know. I mean,
sure?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, I make records, I record, I play, I write books, I mean,
well,
I don't really have.
When you look at the Stones and guys like that, I mean, they're still doing what they like.
Well, but they're rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
true.
If I was rich, then I suppose I would, consider hanging it up at some point. But if you're not rich, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, you're definitely, still putting out quality material. First 2 songs, that you've put out off of this new Love Hate album are fantastic. And so I'm definitely, like I said, looking forward to this coming out. And, excited also to hear that you're going to do a Quiet Riot album because I wasn't sure if that was even going to happen or not. But
it is going to happen. And Rudy will be on it and Frankie from Tracks will be on it. So it'll be legitimate.
Well, what would you like to? I'm curious what you would say to your fans that are out there, because you have a lot of fans. I mean, you and I are friends on Facebook. I see your social media, and there's a lot of people who follow what you do day to day. Anything you want to say to those people?
Well, if they're interested, go check out my books at jizzypearl.net, and they're really interesting reads. They're not your typical rock book. They're fiction and freaky shit, and it's interesting stuff. And I would say check that out. And and the music is coming, and the Quiet Riot will be coming next year. And I'll continuing on.
Excellent. And one last question: what do you consider, I guess, at this point in your life to be your greatest achievement?
Still doing it.
Yeah.
That's my definition of my. Well, I mean, your definition.
A career that a lot of people have ever had in their life. So, I mean, and still.
Your definition of success changes over the years. When you're a kid, you think you're going to be a millionaire, and then the music industry, tells you otherwise. And then you realize that the definition of success is to be constantly working and to be good at what you do. So that's really my definition.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Like I said, you already had a much lengthier career than a lot of the guys have, and I give you kudos for staying in there and knocking it out. And you're just an interesting guy, an interesting artist. You dabble, like you say, you do the writing, and then from band to band, and you do your thing. And so, pretty interesting fellow. Interesting interview, intelligent guy, which I enjoy. I'm not going to say. I think a lot of rock musicians have that stigma that they're
stupid.
early David Lee Roth or something, and just have no idea what's going on. And brain dead, but you're one of those guys who also kind of proves that stereotype wrong too. So that's nice to have out there. And if they really pay any attention, I mean, to your lyrics and stuff too, there's a lot of tongue in cheek, really funny stuff in there. In previous love-hate albums and stuff that, you just got to be paying attention, and you can catch all kinds of stuff in there.
Well, right on, dude. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.